The Obama administration could soon repeal protections for medical workers who object on moral grounds to performing abortions. Correspondent Shannon Bream reports on what's next for those sheltered by what's called the Conscience Clause.
It's open season on healthcare professionals of conscience. Discriminate at will.
Doctors from across the country have come to Washington to try to save a federal regulation. It gives heightened protection to medical workers who choose not to perform certain procedures like abortion based on a moral objection. Though a number of provider protection laws have been on the books for decades, some doctors complained they weren't being enforced. So just before he left office, President George W. Bush enacted a federal regulation calling for better enforcement and mandating that some medical schools and employers actually certify their compliance in writing.
They are broader than any kind of rule that has existed on the subject before. They are very heavy-handed, and I would be guessing, but I think that they were ideologically motivated.
The White House has issued a statement, quote, "This issue requires a balance between the rights of providers and the health of women and their families, a balance that the last-minute Bush rule appears to upset." 30 organizations have banded together, sending a letter to President Obama asking for a meeting before he decides whether or not to repeal the Conscience Clause regulation. A poll commissioned on behalf of the Christian Medical Association shows 87% of Americans believe it's important that no healthcare provider be forced to participate in procedures they find morally objectionable. Even 60% of those who identified themselves as pro-choice say they favor the Bush regulation.
If I am faced with the choice between losing my job or being forced to perform an abortion, I will leave the practice of medicine.
But those who support repeal of the regulation say that won't be necessary.
And the balance between certainly an individual's conscience and the patients who need the services is one that is tricky to maneuver, and I think in this country we have done that very well.
Abortion isn't the only issue. Embryonic stem cell research and contraception come into play as well. In Washington, Shannon Bream, Fox News.